synergy, and they're kind of the core of that team. I think that they like to run that Holy Paladin and that Warlock, and they know that this is a strong core. You're going to be able to drag out games for a long period of time and try to find the win later, and then they just add in whatever they see fit, if it's Procket or if it's their Pharaoh Druid, and so far it's been going really good for them. This is their first top 8 as KeyBoard Rhythm, and they're in the top 4 right now, so they could potentially even go to the summer finals if they have a deeper run today. So it's going to be exciting to see what they have in store for us too.
Pretty exciting for them, pretty exciting for us, and we can have a little look over at that schedule because they will be playing in the first series of the day against Tempo Storm. Both these teams have a great deal to prove here. If KeyBoard Rhythm, as Zico says, can make a deep run in this tournament, it's going to be fantastic for them. But Tempo Storm already in that top 4. They're a team that we're expecting to qualify to that summer final. So this is a knockout series to watch. After that, we've got Method Black versus Ascendant, those potential Rogue Mage Priest mirrors, which should be very, very exciting. But let's draw our attention over then to Tempo Storm playing against KeyBoard Rhythm. So on the side of Tempo Storm, of course, we mentioned that they've been having a weak spring season and a strong summer season. But what is it about this roster that we really have such high expectations of them, Elliot?
Well, it's just, I mean, they did so well last year. They're the reigning BlizzCon champions. They have a big sponsor behind them, big name players, Alec, Nixie, Jamie, and Poike, and they've been practicing a lot, like I said, taking it very seriously, as a lot of teams have. They kind of have to this year with how tough the competition is, but they didn't have the best season last season in spring. I mean, they didn't even make it to the spring finals, so I think a win here is ultra important for them because you don't want to be on that bubble. You don't want to be in that 4th place position with points. You want to have a deeper run, so you're a little bit more secure.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's important to have team synergy. Everyone on the team needs to be on board. We're going to win BlizzCon. That needs to be the mentality. If you have players on the team that are thinking, oh, no, I kind of want to take it easy, and that seemed to be Kara's position. He didn't really want to compete at the highest level this year, so he decided to step down and not potentially hold Tempo Storm back. So bringing Jamie onto the roster, which is someone who isn't afraid to voice his opinion, and he will be motivated to improve and get better in the series, I think is important for Tempo Storm. And now that they have a unit, I think that is all 4 players want to win that BlizzCon again. If they have that mentality, they definitely can showcase it here today.
And Jamie's been a huge member for them because, I mean, one of the big things we've been talking about between the 2 days is that they now have the opportunity to play these elemental compositions, which we actually saw Method Black already able to take down this roster running that exact composition 3-0 yesterday. Zico, do you think that Tempo Storm can emulate a similar style here today?
Well, we know that Tempo Storm, one of the main reasons why they picked up Jamie was to be able to run that Elemental Outlaw, Enhanced Outlaw, and we know that Nixie has been picking up the Outlaw Rogue, and he's been doing a great job with it so far. So I think that if Tempo Storm wants to actually have a deep run in these tournaments and just be successful, they need to be able to take down KeyBoard Rhythm. We saw Method Black be able to do it yesterday. They lost that initial game as the RLS, and then afterwards they switched over to the LA Outlaw and won 3 games in a row. So I expect to see something similar from Tempo. LA Outlaw, they looked really strong yesterday, so I think that Tempo should be able to win this one.
They looked strong against XRB yesterday. You can vote if you think they're going to be strong enough. Hashtag TS in the Twitch chat for Tempo Storm. But if you think KeyBoard Rhythm with their first tournament appearance can get into the top 3, then you should be using the hashtag KR for KeyBoard Rhythm. We're on main compositions, but Tempo Storm with a little bit of a change.
Yeah, this is quite the surprise. Jamie on the Retribution Paladin and Alec playing the Destro Warlock, I believe, or is it the Affliction Warlock?
I mean, we can't really tell with until they start casting spells, but I would imagine that he's playing, maybe he is playing Affliction. Affliction does, I think he is playing Affliction. Affliction is normally the soft counter to Destruction Warlock, as he can cast out instant damage over time effects and then run behind the pillar while still doing close to maximum damage, whereas a Destruction Warlock has to spam casted spells. So I think compositionally this actually could work out for Tempo Storm, but again, they might be mind gaming themselves. We see him in Poike as the primary target initially here for KeyBoard Rhythm. The pressure is going to be on to him. He gets interrupted, going for another heal, manages to catch that. Should immediately be able to top his team off with the remainder of this Earthen Shield Totem.
Yeah, Aerotross putting out good pressure early on, and Poike actually getting locked out there. Alex trying to push in, connect dots onto everyone, but Astral Shift already going to be forced out. I love Juicy putting out huge pressure on that Feral Druid, and Poike getting lower and lower, casting out the Healing Surge, finally connecting a heal to himself, but still just rotting down. Aerotross, I love Juicy, and Baruch just all over him, and Poike might not actually consider gating away if he has one. Yes, he does. There is 2 gateways there, so he has that option if he needs it.
Yeah, I mean, the one advantage Borog has as the Holy Paladin is he does deal with damage over time effects quite effectively with this Avenging Crusader that he has now activated. So all of his attacks will heal his entire team, and he also does bonus damage, and you can see that extra damage is putting a lot of pressure towards Minpoike as he's trying desperately to stay alive. Healing Tide Totem has been used. He's boosting his healing quite a bit. It's almost just a dog pile of both teams at this point. It's interesting to see the Destruction Warlock kind of just run down Tempo Storm. Bo-Rogue finally getting counter-pressured here as Avenging Crusader is over. Jamie is putting down the gas pedal, trying to find Divine Shield. Bo-Rogue tries to gate to safety. Jamie gates right after him. Bo-Rogue is forced to steed up, but Jamie can just follow suit. He's getting feared away. Good peels from Eritros and Lucy. That's going to allow Bo-Rogue to recover behind the pillar.
Oh, that was so important, Baruch, to finally get away from Jamie, who was just basically matching him with everything he did. Used the gateway, used the Divine Steed to chase him down, but those peels were very clutch. I love Juicy now in a little bit of trouble. Survival Instinct's going to be activated, but he's going to be running away. Wants to avoid some of the damage coming in from Jamie. Baruch now caught in the full Hammer of Justice. He opts to sit it down to around 50% HP. Nice Hex Totem coming in from Minpoike, slowing down those heals, allowing Jamie to reconnect with the Blood Elf Silence. Tempo Storm has a lot of rot pressure right now.
Yeah, and Bo-Rogue now has Avenging Crusader. They're going to go after Minpoike. Jamie supports with a Blessing of Sanctuary, removing that stun. Minpoike is now easily out of line of sight, but now they're switching their attention to Jamie. They're looking to force the Divine Shield. Minpoike free casting Healing Waves. Doesn't seem to be a spell lock available for him. Jamie now trying to reverse the pressure, but Bo-Rogue trinkets out to lead the charge. With Jamie and Minpoike both low on health, this could easily be the Ascendance. Let's see how long Minpoike decides to be greedy with this. He's going to use Astral Shift and Ascendance overlapped here 30 seconds prior to the Incarnation, which means it could be devastating later on. It might even be just devastating right now. Minpoike trinkets out of the stun. He's falling more so and more so behind. Jamie's trying to make something happen by attacking Bo-Rogue, as it seems to be a bit of a healer race in this match.
Yeah, it absolutely appears that way. There's a full Hammer of Justice on a Baruch. If they can connect the damage, this could be his Divine Shield, which would be huge for Tempo Storm to force that out. But no, the Hellstone connects from Baruch. He's going to survive to live another day. He just needs to last 5 more seconds and get that Avenging Crusader going. But he actually gets locked out. If they have enough burst damage, they can take him down before Divine Shield. Huge mistake coming in from Baruch. And ultimately, Tempo Storm punishes. KeyBoard Rhythm is in such a good spot. That was a very greedy play from Baruch, or an excellent play from Alec, whatever way you want to look at it. But ultimately, Tempo Storm will win.
Alec with the outplay locks out Baruch, locks him out of his rhythm, and now we have a 1-0 advantage for Tempo Storm. And Zika, that's huge because Tempo Storm, they've always run these different compositions. Rich was saying yesterday, we kind of call them Counter Storm in some ways, or we've used that in the past for previous iterations of Tempo Storm rosters. And they just have so many options. And Alec on that Warlock especially, 2-0 yesterday, now another win here today. He's looking good on that.
Yeah, Alex has been doing a great job on the Warlock, and I think it is very similar in a lot of ways to the Mage. When you play that Warlock, if you have that free casting role where they're going onto your healer or onto your third member, then you have a lot of options with peeling and applying counter spells and spell locks at the right time, just like that, and getting all of that damage out. You know, Alec has been doing a great job with that, but I'm not sure about this pick. Do you guys think that Tempo Storm is going to pick the same thing? Because I really didn't feel like they were winning that match up until that point. I think Baruch could have bubbled, and then they would have Incarn. Minpoike didn't have a Trinket or Ascendance or Astral Shift, so I think that could have been a very scary moment had Baruch survived. So I'm not sure, but I'm not sold on the comp.
Yeah, what do you think, Sid, about the fact that Tempo Storm, this isn't the first time they've done this, right? Like, we've predicted something like the Elemental Outlaw, very standard composition, but then they're swapping over to these slightly different rosters, I guess, like Jamie coming in on the Retribution Paladin. This isn't the first time we've seen this from them.
No, I mean, they obviously feel that they'd be more disadvantaged in another setup. With this one specifically, I'm not entirely sure if you could say it's this team wins more than this team, because the Affliction Warlock does so well against Destruction, but at the same time it doesn't do so well into Holy Paladins, so it's got an advantage on one side but a disadvantage on the other. Then the Rep Paladin, he loves attacking Holy Paladins. I feel like Rep Paladins can just destroy Holy Paladins, but they don't really like Destruction Warlocks, so there's give and take. There's advantages and disadvantages on both sides. I think it's a pretty even matchup. The only thing that will then come down to it is experience. And Eritros and Lucy are, I would say, more experienced on their composition than Minpoike's team. And I think you could see a bit of that inexperience on Tempo Storm's side due to the amount of cooldowns they were overlapping at points where there were no real threats. So I'm not sure if this will work out for Tempo Storm, but if they can just polish up the defensive cooldown management, I still think it's an evenly fought fight.
Yeah, and I mean, winning game one, obviously huge for the team. 63% of you in the Twitch chat predicted that Alec would land that counterspell to finish the game very abruptly. But one of the other things I want to talk about for Barug, especially on the Holy Paladin, which is something we didn't see from Team Riviera, is that Avenging Crusader, the melee wings. How do you think it's been performing for him? Because it's a very different style to the kind of sit back and heal from max range that we've seen on Holy Paladins in the past, Ben.
Well, I think it's just particularly good for, for two things. Hunting down the Shaman, because you're going to be in there. Right. You wanted to land those Hammer of Justices. You also get to assist with, a little bit of extra damage. But in addition to that, like Sid was mentioning, it's also kind of just like a soft counter to Affliction Warlocks. They build up all this rot pressure, you use your Avenging Crusader, and then all of a sudden all of that pressure is gone. You just have to make sure you're not being too greedy with your defensives while that cooldown isn't available, because that is when you're going to rot down. That's really the time that his team is going to be susceptible, and he's going to be susceptible to dying like we saw.
Yeah, and we can see we're in the draft phase right now. Dalaran Sua's small map coming in from KeyBoard Rhythm in the second game, I guess for the Feral Druid. Tempo Storm have the opportunity to lock in their composition blind. Would you go for the same one, Zika?
I would go for Early Outlaw at this point. I think that at least they can use it as a default, because it's good against everything that KeyBoard Rhythm has. If they play, double Wizard, like Ellie Destro, then it's good against that. They play Feral, it's good against that too. So I would like to see that. However, Tempo Storm, don't care what I would like to see. Okay, Mimpoike is on the Resto Druid.
I don't know how I feel about this. Like,
I'm not sold.
Tempo Storm.
I'm not sold.
Tempo Storm got to watch Method Black destroy KeyBoard Rhythm with.
They 3-0'd them.
Yeah, they 3-0'd them, and it was pretty convincing, I must add. So they get to watch those games, see the strategies that play out, and then still opt to play whatever this is.
Do you think that speaks more to Tempo Storm's confidence on that composition then?
It has to. Like, I can't look at it any other way. They must not be confident in the matchup.
Yep, well, interesting composition coming in from Tempo Storm. They took game one, but as we said, it wasn't necessarily representative of how the game was going. It was just that one big outplay coming in with the counterspell from Alec to secure the kill early onto Barug. I imagine if you're KeyBoard Rhythm, you're not going to be too thrown off by that game rate, Sid. You should probably lock in the Feral once again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see KeyBoard Rhythm having any need to really change it up, especially on the map that's been selected. Dalaran Sewers would not be a favorable matchup for the Ellie Destro. I think it's a good environment for the Feral Druid. He can just bounce around and attack multiple targets very easily. The same could be said for the Retribution Paladin, and I think this is another case where no team is compositionally advantaged. There's going to be openings, so Jamie's team, as Vinruki alluded to, wants to kill Borug during the downtime. Avenging Crusader, Red Paladin is fully capable and willing to do that job. He's got a 6-second stun and a lot of single target burst, so the Affliction Lock will just soften people up and support right for that moment. And then on the opposite side, I think the Feral Druid might be more preferred into the Resto Druid than the Resto Shaman. I actually think Minpoike maybe should have stayed on Shaman instead of Druid, but this could be another case of him just switching back to his comfort pick. On the Druid, he's obviously phenomenal at it, and then whereas on the Shaman, it seemed like some of the cooldowns could have been used differently, and there were openings that were going to be left later on, so I feel like he's maybe just going back to a comfort pick in that sense. We have to see if Minpoike on the Resto Druid can deal with that, because Feral Druids are very difficult to heal through, especially as a Resto Druid.
Yeah, it's really hard. So that was going to be my next question then. So we saw game one. Obviously, Minpoike on that Restoration Shaman looked to be a kill target, potentially for KeyBoard Rhythm. Now he swaps over to the Restoration Druid, but they're also struggling just a little bit against those Ferals, Zika.
100% comfort pick for sure. I don't think that Tempo picked the Shaman to begin with because they know it's better, but they went with the Resto Druid because maybe Minpoike felt like, I'm not sure about this. we're triple alt team against triple mains. Maybe we should have one main.
One main, exactly.
So I think it's definitely a comfort pick.
Well, we are ready to load up into Dalaran Suez. Game 2 of this series, Tempo Storm taking the edge in the first one. As you can see, Minpoike swapping over to that Restoration Druid.
Yeah, I'm interested to see who KeyBoard Rhythm decides to target down in this matchup. In the last game, Minpoike was on the Resto Shaman. He was a big vulnerability for Tempo Storm. Now on the Resto Druid, maybe it's not going to be as easy for KeyBoard Rhythm.
All right, Jamie just standing right on top of the entire enemy team. Alec is now moving in as well. Tempo Storm looked to get aggressive. Minpoike getting bashed early on, but Sanctuary will remove that. And Lucy knows that targeting the Resto Druid as the Feral is going to be the best target to go after. Lucy getting bashed away as Minpoike is looking for a Cyclone, and Lucy is actually opting to trinket out of that. And I like that. I love Lucy is not playing the Incarnation. He's actually playing the Soul of the Forest, I believe, so his spread pressure is just going to be insanely high. It's going to be the best way to run Minpoike out of mana.
Yeah, and Poike taking huge pressure very early on. Already committing the Iron Bark over onto Jamie. Jamie and Alec, though, the Affliction Warlock damage sort of rotting down everyone from KeyBoard Rhythm, but the Avenging Crusader will be popped, and that's a major healing cooldown for Barug where he can actually top off his team. But still, Jamie doing work right now, keeping him low. If he can't top himself off with his Avenging Crusader, it could be very scary for Barug. He knows that. He gates away. Doesn't want to get caught into a Hammer of Justice. Doesn't want to get spell locked again. But he ultimately does go for it. But Jamie now, chasing down Barug. He is vulnerable in the open with a full fear on him and Poike. This could be the Divine Shield. Yeah,
but Jamie can't really chase after him. He's trying to go halfway in between. If Barug just moved away from the ledge, then Jamie would have to overcommit. Now Jamie is overcommitted. Let's see if the heal over time effects from Poike will be enough to stabilize him. And Ret Paladins just love hitting Holy Paladins. I don't know, it's probably the most juicy target to attack. And Barug is trying his best to just close the distance, but Jamie can match him. Poike moving in for a bash. There's no trinket available. This could easily be the Divine Shield. They're trying to peel them away with the maim. A War Stomp followed up. Barug doing his best to be as greedy as possible in this situation, but greed might not be good, and the Divine Shield is ultimately forced. At least he did get the Blood Elf silence used from Jamie, but now with no Divine Shield and no trinket, Barug will be in trouble. They're trying to go after him, and Poike is a bit of a greedy play to not trinket on this Hammer of Justice. He did get stunned out of there.
Oh!
That greedy decision. There was no Blessing of Protection. There was no Sanctuary. There was no trinket. There were 3 different options there to get out of that situation, and unfortunately, that means for Tempo Storm, we're going to be going to game number 3, 1-1.
I think that was a ferocious bite or something, because he was kind of chilling at 25% HP and then just immediately evaporated.
Yeah, that was an incredibly ferocious bite, I think. I don't know if you can even fault Min Poike for that. I mean, he used the bark skin, and he was 30% health at the end of the stun, but he just got absolutely... What's the word for it? I think you've got a couple... Kleptified. That's a Kleptified, right?
Yep.
Can you fault him for that?
I can fault Jamie for not using his Blessing of Sanctuary.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing, because I think if Min Poike uses his trinket there, it's actually really bad. If he gets stand up later when Jamie can't sank him, or if he gets feared and he has the trinket, then he doesn't have it, And if you have sank, you should always use the sank, because it's a lower cooldown, obviously.
I feel like, Adrian, you and I being Wrestle Druids, we know what happens.
Yeah, I don't want to fault this guy too much.
You're in bear form, you're chilling. You're not in bear form,
yeah,
you're probably not, so you should probably overcommit at least something, or be aware that situation can happen, and that's exactly what ended up happening. So, and ultimately, I think they were winning. Like, it seemed like they were confidently ahead, and they had so many different options. So maybe this pick isn't that bad. Tempo Storm can just clean that up. Of course, as you said, Jamie could have used Sanctuary to remove the stun, which then would have allowed Min Poike to get into bear form to tank out the rest of the damage. So I think with a little bit better teamwork, this pick from Tempo Storm could definitely work. But as I said earlier, I think the inexperience is maybe starting to show itself. Obviously not Min Poike, but the composition itself. Like, when do we want to use Sanctuary to get those stuns? When should we use Barkskin? It seems like they haven't solidified those decisions, and when you're in a tournament setting, if you haven't solidified them, sometimes games just slip away from you like that.
Yeah, a lot of questions to answer, and a lot of answers coming up after this quick break, where we will be heading to the Game 3, tied up here, Tempo Storm versus KeyBoard Rhythm. Don't go anywhere. We're all square here as we're ready for Game 3. Tempo Storm 1-1 against KeyBoard Rhythm. We can see them locking in the same composition once again. Minpoike sitting on that Restoration Druid.
In the last game, honestly, Tempo Storm was looking really, really good. They were way ahead. Barug had already used his Divine Shield. I feel like it's going to be a similar strategy for them. You know, Jamie on the Retribution Paladin, that is his favorite target, is that Holy Paladin. So we'll have to see if Tempo Storm can just survive, maybe use their defensive cooldowns a little bit better, and I don't think it's going to be too bad for them.
No, certainly not. This time around, it seems like Lucy will be playing Incarnation. That's going to be a lot more single target burst, but a lot less just damage over time on multiple targets. So Minpoike needs to be extra careful on the swaps to him during that moment in time. Jamie is just immediately getting stunned up. I love Lucy trying to get as many bleeds on as many targets as possible. Airtrust trying to banish the pet so he can free cast later on. Minpoike is actually pushing forward on top of Borug. He's going to take quite a bit of damage from this aggressive push. He's going to trade up Barkskin, but he is not in bear form, and that's a critical moment here. He could just end up going down, the same as we saw in game number 2. And it's going to happen again. Just if you get caught out of that bear form and you don't respond with a trinket or a sanctuary, it's almost certainly going to be your death.
This is such a nightmare for Tempo Storm. 2 games in a row, just absolutely thrown away. KeyBoard Rhythm has to be grinning right now. They'll take it. They're up 2-1 in this series. This is an elimination series. There is a lot of points and money on the line here.
Yeah, when you got 0 points, you're definitely going to take what you can get, especially against a roster like Tempo Storm. And now, I mean, once you can't really fold it, but twice you've got to start asking questions. I Love Lucy coming out with the Incarnation play in that game, and Zico, he just obliterated Minpoike.
I mean, this was just way too greedy. I think just use the Sank. It's 45-second cooldown. Just use it. It's all their CDs. Just use Sank, and that's it. You trade Sank and Barkskin, and you can start pushing offensive. You can start doing what you want to do to get ahead. And this is a big. These are 2 big mistakes from Tempo Storm. They literally gave it away. I mean,
the entire replay of the game.
The replay is literally the entire game. I mean, it's honestly...
You have to be in line of sight for Blessing of Sanctuary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
So let's see Jamie's positioning.
Yeah.
Here. Maybe it was just Minpoike getting caught in the room that really made it difficult.
He gets
So
stunned
Poike is
behind.
stunned in the room.
Can't use it.
There. Oh, he gets rooted?
He got rooted.
Okay, there. Oh, no,
He
he
got
got
Infernal
stunned.
Then he
And
did it, but it was after.
Yeah, okay. No.
He just got outplayed.
KeyBoard Rhythm.
It looks so good every time. It's so satisfying.
Aritros actually played that really well.
Yeah.
He rooted him to stop the Sank,
Yeah.
and then he Infernaled him to stop the Sank, and then he coiled out of the stun. So Aritros played that really well, actually. But
And then you're as Minpoike, you're just sitting there like, plus, Sank?
Yeah, you're
Sank?
expecting the Sank, right?
I'm dead. Okay, great.
where's the Sank?
Because you definitely don't want to overlap that, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to trinket and get the Blessing of Sanctuary.
Well,
Then you're in a really bad spot.
I mean, it then begs the question, why was he even making the push into the room in the first place? I mean, the Resto Druid pick is supposed to be the safe pick, where you just hang out in the back and out-mana the other healer.
Yeah.
So him getting aggressive, which made it look like he both wanted to take a pillar and bash the healer, basically just walked him into a stun. So he could have been in bear form if he wanted to make that push and walked across the map to do that. But because he was out of bear form and walked right into the most dangerous spot of the game, which is basically the enemy starting room, it just kind of threw everything away, and Aritros punished it instantly. So
I think it was crazy good play from Aritros, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk a little bit about the decision making from Poike as well. Then, why do you think he was making this play? Do you think he felt a bit of regret coming out of game 2? Is that why he's playing a little bit more aggressive?
I mean, maybe he wasn't expecting Incarnation because Incarnation wasn't picked last game, and that's just a significant boost of burst where it's moving in this game. But it seemed like they might just be playing like they're slightly asleep. I don't know. They need to wake up. Like, just wake up, get back into the
game 1 was pretty good
right?
from them.
Like they won as a Resto Shaman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Resto Shaman's inherently like you can't make the mistake on a Resto Shaman of not being in bear form, or you can't get caught out of bear form, you know? It seems like there's less room for the kind of randomness. Not randomness, but like it's a disaster, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's about as bad as it gets,
Yeah.
right? Like 1 time, sure, but twice in a row now, the exact same play. Basically, even more damage with the Incarnation thrown out here. They needed to respect it, but I mean, you got to throw it back to what Zico is saying. Aritros, like, to even like conflag root and not just use the conflag on the healer, like 99% of Destro Warlocks would just conflag the healer in that situation.
Yeah, and it's just because of the positioning, Aritros realized that if I root the ret, I prevent the Sank, then I can stun him, I can still do some damage to Minpoike and coil him, and my job is basically to CC both of them. So Aritros definitely played his role right there, and he did a good job. But when you play with a... I'm trying to think. in the North American Cup, we had, when Envious was playing Red Paladin with Colo, they were consistently, for 10 minutes, always in line of each other. That synergy doesn't seem to be there for Minpoike and Jamie, because Jamie's out there hitting somebody on the other side, and Minpoike is pushing into the room behind the pillar. They need to be on the same page. They need to make sure that, hey, we're always going to be close to each other at least. And, I mean, in my opinion, Jamie should also trinket that Infernal Stun and Sank rather than sit it and then Sank, because trading Jamie's trinket is always going to be more beneficial for tempo than trading Minpoike's trinket.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we saw on Dalaran that Minpoike was literally blinking after Jamie. So certainly in that game where they had a bit more offense going, it was looking great for them. You can see the same compositions locked in once again on Ruins of Lordaeron. The map should help them to stick together a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be much more difficult for them to line of sight each other, but this is kind of what happens when you have a team like KeyBoard Rhythm. They're playing their main composition. Even if you are in a disadvantaged matchup, sometimes, you know, you played this matchup so many times, you know how to exploit some of its weaknesses and actually find win conditions. Whereas Tempo Storm, I don't know how much experience they have on this composition. Has Jamie ever played against Eritros, you know, rooting him and stunning him out of line of sight of his healer while they rush him down? So I think that's one of the advantages that KeyBoard Rhythm has playing a total main setup.
Yeah, I mean, it is their main composition, right? It's what got them here. And we've talked about this a little bit. Like, obviously, last weekend, we were commending the move, playing their RPS composition with WizK on the Shadow Priest, the classes they're known for. And then on the other side, Sea-Doo running that Windwalker Death Knight. Of course, all those guys are known for their classes. We'll have to see if Tempo Storm can make this old composition work in Game 4, because ultimately, they're one game away from being eliminated from the competition here, Sid.
Yeah, and Ruins of Lordaeron would be a fitting final resting place for Tempo Storm indeed, as it is a cemetery.
Of course.
We are 10 seconds away from this game starting. Ruins of Lordaeron is a very risky pick by Tempo Storm, as it's almost completely open field. I could imagine Eritros taking to the center of this tomb and being able to cast across basically the entire arena. I'm wondering if Tempo Storm are going to try to rush down Borog. Minpoike and Jamie just need to work together as a team. If they're in line of sight with each other, they can support each other and get through those deadly Feral Druid cooldowns that can be applied to the Resto Druid. If they don't work as a team, they're going to get isolated, exposed, and destroyed. There's the Sanctuary early on onto Minpoike, as he was stunned out of bear form, but there were no cooldowns used, so they get the Sanctuary basically for free in this position.
Yeah, double coil coming out from Eritros as he tries to get some pressure rolling over onto Jamie. I Love Lucy's going to be charging in, but he gets bashed up by Minpoike there, so not going to be able to do too much. This is looking much better for Tempo Storm, but still good rot pressure coming in from KeyBoard Rhythm. And Verugi still has that Avenging Crusader. He pops it now. Jamie getting lower, Minpoike getting lower. Might have to commit the Iron Bark here.
They overlap the Trinket and the Blessing of Protection, and they're still dying at this point. Tempo Storm should be able to survive for at least another minute, but with that massive cooldown overlap, if Minpoike gets stunned out of bear form again, and they can cross crowd control the Sanctuary, he's going to disappear from the arena. He's still getting pressured down. He's trying to hold on to the Barkskin until he gets stunned, but he's forced to use Frenzy Regeneration. If Borog can survive hit this stun, Jamie's trying to get a kill before that point can happen. Borog trinkets out, but into a silence. Double Mortal Coil. Jamie caught into a stun. Borog moving over towards Minpoike. No Avenging Crusader, but they're going to go for the Hammer of Justice. That's the Sanctuary. Borog is still getting rushed down. It's going to be a healer race, as we saw in game number 1. Jamie desperately trying to connect. Will Borog be able to hold on to the Divine Shield? He's trying to fake cast all the Inerts, but he might be greedy. He has to trade out the Divine Shield. He will easily now survive. Tears Deliverance has been casted. His team should start to restabilize, and it's Minpoike that will be under fire.
Yeah, full Hammer of Justice onto I Love Lucy. Eritros getting a little bit low as well, but like you said, Minpoike is going to be in big trouble. He has a Barkskin, Iron Bark's going to be up as well. Now Barug is basically run out of all his defensives. They can land full stuns on him. It's going to be big trouble for KeyBoard Rhythm. This is where the Affliction Warlock rot pressure is really coming in. Barug using that Avenging Crusader, trying to rush down Minpoike and take him down. Jamie still has a Divine Shield, so he should be completely fine here. He just needs to make sure he's supporting Minpoike the best he can. Frenzied Regen will ultimately top off Minpoike, but Eritros, Lucy, as well as Barug in hot pursuit.
Yeah, but he used the Frenzy Regeneration before the stun. Sanctuary is going to save Minpoike on this one, but he's running out of Frenzy Regeneration charges. If they can keep up the sustained damage as they are, they might be able to put him down. Jamie's also rotting. Alec is trying to take control of the fight. He uses the Succubus to interrupt the unending resolve of Eritros. Now Borog is in trouble. Great crowd control and peels from Alec, and now setting up to finish this. Borog gates back into the room. Jamie chases after him. He barely connects the massive heal in time, but Jamie's right on top of him. He uses the Divine Shield to stay on target. Borog has no Avenging Crusader for 10 more seconds. Borog needs to survive. Just 9 more seconds. He uses his trinket. He's trying to kite away. Jamie's still just right on top of him. Minpoike following up. I can imagine that bashes may be available. Minpoike's just waiting for that diminishing return. Borog is going to disappear. They catch Minpoike out of form. He uses the bark skin, but maybe it would have been better to trinket in this situation. He's being greedy again. Will he ultimately go down as a result of it? No, it looks like he will survive this stun lock. Now basically all they have to do is get to Borog, and there's really no way for him to survive the next stun.
Yeah, Minpoike doing a great job there with the Iron Bark, preemptive Iron Bark and Bark Skin to keep himself alive, so I really can't fault him for not trinketing. Ultimately, he is going to be able to survive Barug. You know, this is the last few moments of his Avenging Crusader, and now it's time for Temple Storm to strike back. There's the full hammer of justice on a Barug as he tries to kite away once again. He has to survive another 28 seconds before he has that major cooldown to keep his team alive. There's the full maim over on him in Minpoike. Lucy chasing him down right now as he does rot down. Can he find the interrupt? Doesn't look like it. Minpoike's able to free cast, gets out the full Cyclone as well. Very nicely done by Minpoike. Should be able to top off his team.
But look at I Love Lucy Incarnation coming off cooldown in 1 second. If he just pops that instantly, Minpoike doesn't have Bark Skin for 8 more seconds. There's the Incarnation. Minpoike's going to disappear. He pops Renewal. He barely hangs on. He needs 4 more seconds. He manages to stabilize with that trinket. Now he's desperately trying to kite away, and now at this point, Tempo Storm, it's completely in their favor. They have Blessing and Protection to deny a kill. Borog basically has nothing left. He's caught into a stun, into a silence, and Borog is likely to fall. Avenging Crusader won't be enough as Jamie's Templar verdict crits massive. We're going to a game number 5 between Tempo Storm and KeyBoard Rhythm. You can still kind of tell that Minpoike and Jamie's teamwork is a bit shaky with the Wretched Paladin and Resto Druid supporting each other, but unlike the other games, at least they got the cooldowns onto the playing field, right? They might have overlapped them, but at least they were there to stop the kill. So Tempo Storm will be able to clean it up at the end and bring this to a game 5.
Yeah, and with that cleaned up gameplay, I'm actually pretty convinced that the composition that Tempo Storm has went with, I think it's just so deadly on a Barug with those Hammer of Justices, the Retribution Paladin. They just have enough damage to take him down outside of those wings.
Yeah, I mean, it looked really hard for Barug. There was a couple of times where he was kind of clinging on, hoping for that Avenging Crusader to come back up, but ultimately they were able to get it. And we saw aggressive plays on both sides, right? We saw Jamie going in for the Divine Shield say. We saw Blessing and Protections even onto I Love Lucy. Both these teams really playing for the throat, and it's great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we finally had a chance to see what Tempo Storm can do with this Resto Druid comp when they actually managed to survive that initial attack. And I think that the Tempo Storm, they have a pretty solid composition here now that we've seen it kind of play out. I think that you have a lot of defense, even if Minpoike doesn't necessarily pre-bear every single stun. If he bears, you know, a decent amount of them, like half, then he will still have that Sanctuary, he'll still have Blessing of Protection, and his own Trinket, of course, to kind of deal with that. So I think they have a clear advantage in terms of mana if the game drags on, and they have a clear advantage in terms of they can just kill the Holy Paladin after a certain amount of time. You stun him, he trinkets, you stun him, he trinkets, you stun him, he bubbles. And then once you go through all of that, you can kill the Holy Paladin like we saw in this game. So I still think Tempo Storm could win, but I think KeyBoard Rhythm are maybe going to change up their strat, because I heard that Elder Shaman is pretty good in turrets.
Yeah, I think so too, especially on a large map like Tolvaron. They are going to have that advantage.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, of course, they have the matchup advantage, having won those 2 kind of one-shot games. It's basically swung on the other side like a swing match, as you often like to describe it, Venruki. And hey, it's Championship Sunday, both these teams facing elimination in Game 5. But let's have a little look at the breakdown for that last game.
Yeah, so here, I really just like this part of the game here, because this was kind of clutch. It was a really nice gateway usage here. And we can see here, Borog actually has basically nothing here. So every time his Avenging Crusader is down, Borog is going to have to do something to survive, or Aritros is going to have to help him out immensely. But here we see a very nice succubus play from Alec, stopping Aritros on his Unending Resolve, which gives him immunity to interrupts. He's stopping Aritros from essentially saving his Holy Paladin here with that play. So Alec, again, on that Warlock, making these plays. And then we can see exactly what happens as we roll this clip. But basically, Borog is going to try to fake around, try to survive. Alec is spellocked right now. And there's a nice kick from Jamie. But look at that gateway. Borog barely staying alive, connects that one big crit heal right there. And Jamie actually bubbled to try to go in and seal the game right there. I think that this kind of demonstrates what happens when the Avenging Crusader is down. Tempo Storm are going to pounce, and they are going to force something from the Holy Paladin, and that raw pressure is going to be hard to deal with, especially when Jamie is targeting the Holy Paladin. And here, of course, we have the final minutes of the game as well, where Borug is getting very, very nicely stun locked right there by everybody, and then he does go down right there at the end. And we can kind of take a look at what sets up this entire chain of events here. And the most important thing is the breakers, like we refer to them, and that means your trinkets that you can use while stunned to get out of the stun, and your bubble in this case because it's a Holy Paladin. And right now, Borug has none of them. As you can see there, his trinkets on cooldown, his bubbles on cooldown, and he's been hammered of Justice. And right now, he does have the Avenging Crusader, but this stun lock here from Tempo is so clean that it doesn't he doesn't have a chance to actually activate it. So we're going to take a look at what leads into the kill here. We see a nice bash from Impoike into I Love Lucy as well to stop him from peeling everyone. Beautiful cross kick there from Jamie onto Aritros to make sure that he doesn't get feared. And then Alec, of course, beautiful Infernal stun out of the Hammer of Justice into the Blood of Silence as well. This was a clean stun lock from Tempo Storm, and nice cross kick as well from Jamie, making sure that he gets that uptime that he needs and having that Warlock on focus while he's still going for the Poly Paladin. It was a nice setup, but they need to do more.
Yeah, I mean, they do need to do more. They need to take the game 5 as well. And of course, Jamie gets his retribution in that one for the 2 losses. But on the flip side, sweeping the Holy Paladin under the rug in that game isn't going to quite be enough to win the series. They need to do it one more time. This is everything to play for. Elimination Series, top 3 on the line for the winner of this one.
Did you say sweep under the rug because his name is Borug?
I did indeed.
I didn't even catch that.
All right, the gates have opened. This is quite an evenly fought battle, but it does seem to be slightly favored to Tempo Storm if they can clean up the teamwork between Minpoike and Jamie. Alec is definitely MVP on this Warlock, as we've pointed out in that replay with the Succubus to prevent Aritros from saving Borug. Offensively, Tempo Storm look great. They just need to clean up their defense. We see a Sanctuary removing that stun onto Minpoike very early on. It's very similar to the last game. That means it won't be available for the Incarnation stun. Minpoike needs to be careful. He's got Innervate going. He's trying to get a lot of big, expensive heals out right now, but gets Mortal Coiled away. Double Mortal Coil. Aritros really wants to get a Divine Shield early on. The Incinerates are flying in. Double Infernal stun as well. Alec gets locked out. He can't support, but Jamie's going to go straight for the healer instead to try and force the issue, and it's likely that this match will be a healer race again.
Yeah, Baruch gets out of line of sight, though, tops himself off. Jamie still, he seems to be taking most of the damage in this matchup. It seems to be the focus for Aritros, making sure he has good pressure onto Jamie. That is going to be the Blessing of Protection used as well. If they get the bubble here, it's going to be a huge swing for Tempo Storm. Baruch trinkets out of that stun and able to top himself off. This is the Avenging Crusader, so this is the moment where Keyboard Rhythm is going to be completely fine, but after this cooldown's faded, Tempo Storm is going to have an opportunity to get really aggressive.
There's a Sanctuary onto Minpoike to get him out of that stun. Could have easily been his death there, but he will survive. Tempo Storm's defense is looking a lot better in this game. Borug is going to be falling behind here shortly when that Avenging Crusader fades, and I'm sure Jamie wants to go straight for him. Jamie standing right on top. It's just a dog pile, and both teams trying to kill each other's healers. Borug caught into a stun. He's being greedy by not trinketing out of this, and he could ultimately fall. He trinkets and has the Divine Shield. A critical error from Borug. It's going to put him infinitely behind for the rest of this match, Ven.
Yeah, he was right on top of that gateway as well. I'm sure what he wanted to do is get out of the stun, use the gateway, and be completely safe. But like you said, that is a huge error. Trinket and bubble. This is so big for Tempo Storm. When that Divine... He doesn't even have the Avenging Crusader for another 8 seconds. They're going to continue this pressure, but Jamie gets pounced up there. I Love Lucy trying to strike back onto Jamie. Full Hammer of Justice on a Baruch, though. He doesn't have anything to survive, and I think that's going to be it. I think Tempo Storm ultimately will take him down. Baruch making a huge mistake there, but honestly, credit to Tempo Storm using this composition to take Keyboard Rhythm down and ultimately advance.
Yep, the aggressive Divine Shield coming out of Jamie to ultimately